that didn't used to be a big deal to us. And that's where culture and climate starts to take a hit. We don't want it to be that way, but we're so tired of XYZ and we just can't think of it another way. So I just want to start off curious, what's come up for you? Do you feel like there's an issue at your building with culture and climate, or have you been one of those that have just maintained, and how have you done it? Let's just start it off.
Come up here.
We are starting to see a lot of behaviors start to come up. When we first started, we had half a classroom of kids every other day. And so we're dealing with 12 kids. It was glorious. We didn't have behaviors. They couldn't get out of their chairs. They were, kind of stuck, and it was real easy for us. Now that everybody's back in person, or I guess it's 2/3 of our kids because we still have some remote, we're starting to see we've blended 2 classrooms now. And even though it's the same teacher, those personalities are starting to readjust and trying to figure each other out. And the little things are getting to us.
When you say getting to us, are you talking about getting to the teachers or getting to the kids?
The adults. The kids are being 12-year-old 6th graders. That's what they're doing. And we haven't had to deal with it until February. And then, it was already hard. So.
Yeah, that's a great point that when you say we didn't have to deal with it till February, because no matter how long you've been in education, right? You amp up in July and early August to prep for the beginning of the school year and all the work that goes into that. And you still had that this year, but then when you either transitioned back or you had kids join back or you made a change this fall, it was like going back to August.
Yeah.
But your body and everything is like, wait a minute.
Yeah, we had to go back over. I mean, we do it at the, frequently anyway, but we had to start back over with class rules and how we work in the classroom, because now we have 24 instead of 12. And it's, even though it's the same teacher, it operates a little different with a different personality of class. And as a co-teacher, you walk in and you're like, ooh, this is it's gonna be a lot. And even with 2 of us in there, it's a lot. And it's started, people are feeling it. Spring break was later this year because we started later this year. So by the time we got to spring break in April, people were feeling the pressure. And we still have 6 weeks and we're all like, don't know. And we'll do it, but we want to do it prettier than we are right now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's great.
That's what we're feeling.
Thanks, Melissa.
I think we could, I could have said the exact same thing with everything you said. I'm at the high school right now. We've actually had a normal year, right? Our kids have been in school since day one. We went home for 2 weeks around Thanksgiving because of an uptick, but we've been very blessed with being able to be in the building. We started out the year, unfortunately, though, with the mask debate. I'm sure that a lot of you have as well. And so we spent our first 2 months, and me particularly, with every interaction being negative. Wear the mask, put your mask up, wear your mask, put your mask up. Especially with kids whose families didn't want them wearing it. And so that kind of started our year off really hard. And then I think we've kind of narrowed it down to, we gave so much grace last year in the spring. We passed them and with nothing, having done nothing. And so we did not do a good job of shifting that mindset of, okay, you're in school now, here are our expectations. You have to actually do something this year to get the grade, we've really struggled this year with that. And then spring in all of its glory at the high school with, I've seen some kids twice since spring break. I mean, because they're in FFA or softball or whatever, that it's just an interesting year culturally in our building because of all that. So.
I think one of the things too is, at least in my building, our kids are eating in their classrooms. And so we can't eat in the cafeteria, which requires more staff to cover lunches because we have to have an adult in every classroom. We have our kids zoned at recess. So you have to stay with your class and keep your class in a certain zone of the playground, and they can only play there. So then again, like we used to, trade off recess duties. So instead of, if there were 3 classes, we would send 2 teachers out, and we couldn't do that anymore. Now you have every recess duty. And if there's not a sub or staff is gone, then you're going to cover your lunch as well. And as teachers at the beginning of the year, we're like, absolutely, we're here at school and this is what's best for kids and we want to do that. But at some point, it got to be too much. Like, it was just like, okay, I thought this was going to be a month, or I thought this was, it would just get us started and then things would be okay. And we'd get used to this. And it's a lot. It's a lot of time. And I think that mental health part of it is just really taking a toll on teachers of just constant, it's hard to get a break. And then subs have been an issue. So there's been a very few days, but there have been a few days that's like, you're not going to have your plan time because we don't have an adult to cover your class. So, you're going to just do something for that hour or whatever. And so I think that's going to be hard. I think next year is a lot of that stuff is going to be a little bit back to normal, but I'm already trying to think. So next year I'm actually moving into an instructional coach role, and I'm already trying to think of what are we going to do to boost that climate back up? How do we turn it around? How do we make sure that our teachers are getting that time they need and giving them that break and making sure, because if their mental health, if their self-care is not in the right place, it's impacting our kids. And I actually talked to teachers just 2 days ago, and they said, we are stressed and we are seeing it reflecting on our kids. We know they're feeling it. And we feel awful, but this is our life right now. This is our, the place we're in. And so I think that is the most important thing we need to be thinking about going into next year. And I honestly don't know what that looks like. I mean, I have a few little ideas spinning around in my head, but how do we make sure that teachers are being taken care of going into next year?
As a teacher leader in our building, I'm seeing the adults getting on each other, not our kids, because we love our kids and we're not going to do that to 12-year-olds, but we're getting on each other and relationships are breaking. And how do we go back to, we co-teach and we're great together, and all of a sudden we're not great, and we have to come back in August and we got to get it fixed before then, because it does affect our kids when they see the two of us, and we're fine, but we're stressed with each other sometimes. And so those relationships are breaking and the kids see that. And while we don't take it out on them, they're feeling it. There's tension, whatever. And we got to fix those. And it's not me and my co-teacher only, and it's not every day, but we have to fix it throughout the building. And teacher to admin too. There are some, because of all the stress and all the things that are happening with kids, teachers and admins are struggling with each other too. And we've got to fix some of those relationships, and a couple of team builders in August isn't going to cut it. We're going to have to, bless whoever comes up with the team builders, but we got to do more.
Yeah, you're right, Melissa. And I wonder too, if this is a little bit of the reflection of how the system as an overall in a specific building, if the culture and the climate on that building prior to COVID, if this is a reflection of what we had prior to COVID. I think buildings who already had very strong culture and climate, believe me, I think everyone is suffering with this, but I think those places who already had strong systems in place and already strong culture and climate, they probably are not suffering as much as the ones that don't have, that didn't have prior to COVID. So I wonder if that's a little bit of a reflection of what was already happening. And it just, like everything else, someone that had a minor surgery because of COVID, it became a bigger deal. COVID made everything escalated to a whole different level. So when you already don't have a good system in place, and then you throw COVID in the mix, then I think is a big mess.
I think what all of you are saying makes perfect sense. And Juliana, I like that you pointed out that some districts may have started this out, or buildings may have started this out with maybe a little bit higher culture or whatnot. But even those, like, I think Ariel, you were like, yeah, we said yes, but now I need a break. Like, wherever your building was on that scale of like a culture, everybody's at the but now I need a break point. And so what oh, and I also wanted to tip on, let's see, I think Amanda, you said it. You were like, oh, last year grace was given. Kids didn't have to do a lot. Now we do this. It's almost like we can sit there, if we wrote out a definition of grace, we would all name all these other things. But when we say, well, grace was given last year, that was acquiescence. That was like, okay, we're going to let this go. And we named it grace. And so I love that you pointed out, like, here, because all of us would say, oh no, I still have grace. I understand things are hard, but it's the one use of that word that's spread across multiple things. I'm curious, just because this is work that I do, how, if you put this in the chat or unmute, how do you think, can you name something that you think you might be doing that is impacting the culture, whether you think it's impacting it to help it or impacting it to hurt it? Because we all, like, one thing I heard, I kind of hear is like, well, I do and I do. I say yes to this, I say yes to that. And then we're just drained.
So I'm Therese Edgecombe, and I'm actually from another school district, the Auburn Washburn one in Topeka. But I joined in because I love what you guys do with this Johnson County EdCamp. So I have been leading the district-wide remote team. And I'll tell you, when it comes to culture, it's really hard when every single person in it is remote at all times, and they're all in different buildings, and many of them are working from home. It's just been a really interesting thing. But the thing that I started doing this last quarter, and I started it right off the bat, was just trying to be mindful of sending a positive email to everyone, just a real personal one too, not a generic one, but like, how you doing? And I noticed this really cool thing that you've been doing, but let me know if you need anything. And I'll tell you what, first of all, they are pretty amazing teachers, but just the fact that somebody said, how are you doing? Let me know if you need anything, was so like, even though they never gave me anything to do. You know, no one ever said, oh, okay, could you please take over my such and such class, which is what I was thinking they might say. Just to know that somebody reached out. And I think that we can do that with each other. It doesn't have to come from an admin or a coach. I really do think that if you're having a little trouble with someone in your building, it's probably a good idea to just say, how you doing? I know it sounds stupid, but it wasn't stupid. The reactions were pretty profound.
You know, one of the activities that we specifically do with groups, when you do notice a culture thing, and everybody has hit on it, how things teachers used to be okay with about each other are now like really getting on us, right? Is to think of a strained relationship that you have with a colleague, and then write down 3 things you appreciate about them. Because right now our brains get in that habit of, this drives me crazy, they always go to this. And so our brain is like so hard focused on that we stop remembering grace, humanity, because we're stressed out totally. And it's a great activity to also just humble yourself. Because, you know, I noticed, Melissa, your comment, and you're trying to be a go-between, that it can be really easy to be like, they just don't get it. They're not in here doing this. No, you're right. They have a whole other wheelhouse. They have no idea what you're doing. So being mad at them that they don't know only makes you mad. It doesn't do anything to them.
One thing I have my third graders do is make compliment cards to each other. So they write, I just put their name on a note card and I randomly pass them out and they write cards to each other. And I've done that with staff too. So I'll just put a whole list of every staff member and they can pick a previous teacher or a lunch person or someone in the office. And then I deliver those notes to their mailboxes. We talk about brightening their day and putting a smile on people's faces. So my kiddos like doing that.
And I loved them. I still have them, Erin.
My school last year was really good about that. I'm glad you brought that up, Erin, because that's something I think we could all do is, I mean, I have a collection on my wall too of things that, I mean, they're quick. Some of them are even just on sticky notes from students, but I mean, it just makes you feel appreciated and reminds you why you're there. And then they're sitting there right in front of you when you're at the moment of like, ah.
And all these skills we are teaching kids, we are teaching kids to think of other people in a positive way. And, and it takes intentionality like Erin does. She goes out of her way to create that. And for Erin, I know Erin, that happens naturally to her because that's her personality. For me, I would have to schedule in the calendar and make it purposeful because I'm not good. And you got to be intentional with those things because if you are not good at that kind of stuff, you need to know that you're not good and you need to figure out ways to implement them. I did a couple of things in the building that Erin is for my admin. And I don't know if you guys still do it or not, but we did a couple of activities just to cheer people up throughout the year. We just did 2 when I was there, but it was completely out of my comfort zone. But was something that I did only because I started the idea because of my admin program. But once I implemented, I saw the positive coming out of it. And then it's the reward for me to keep doing it. Does it make sense? Especially if you are like me and you're not good at that kind of stuff. I have to be very purposeful about it.
This isn't something that I have done, but somebody at my school I have noticed just because I'm brand new. So I'm just learning the ropes, trying to figure myself out as a teacher and how to cope with my students. I'm a special education teacher, an autism teacher. But people don't usually reach out a helping hand to the SPED world. And when somebody does, it's a huge, huge deal to me. So I know she's not here, but we have a teacher at my school that likes to send us just a simple, here's the quiz we're doing in class. I want you to show it to your student a couple days in advance because I know he gets mad when he's wrong. It won't be a fair grade, but I know that that'll prevent some outbursts and that'll help him and make him feel confident about actually taking this quiz in front of his classmates because it shows up on the screen. These people got it right, these people got it wrong. So just the fact that she was willing to reach out, I think is a huge deal.
Something I have done periodically between my students is I saw it on Pinterest or Instagram a while ago, and I do Friday feedback probably once a month, and my kids fill out a form, and I told them it's just between them and me and no one else is going to read it. And they write down, used to be when we could change my seats and they could sit in groups, but I said if you could pick the seating arrangement, who are 3 people you would sit next to, who is 1 person you would not want to sit next to, and then who do you think has shown, so we do PBIS, so who's shown star behavior, because we're stars in high school, who's shown star behavior in this class. So, and then I have rate yourself from 1 to 5 on your kindness and 1 to 5 on your effort this week. And so it helps me not necessarily not that I don't care who they want to sit next to, but I really like to look at who do they not want to sit next to, who's maybe someone that is shun is kind of a rude word, but like, especially last year I had 25. So like in a class of 14 this year is a lot smaller, but who is maybe the one that a lot of people are not wanting to sit next to? Does that kiddo need some extra social skills? Does that kiddo just need some love and like some support from me? Is there a reason they're doing this? That is that person, you know? And then it's nice to see them having to rate themselves on effort. And I might tell them, you gave yourself a 3 and I saw you at 5 behaviors. So, you know, you are doing a great job, or I'm seeing you show that kindness. But it's just an interesting thing to see, just a little dipstick of how they feel each few weeks.
So I have a quick poll if you're up for it. That when we think about how we're showing up, sometimes it comes down to how much we put ourselves off and how tired we get of it. So just wanted to see. So pretty, you guys are a great group. I don't know, can you see that? It showed you the poll. That's pretty consistent, because sometimes when we feel like the culture's taking a dive, we turn inward and don't want to do a whole lot. I love what you just shared about I think Erin, you were sharing it about kind of like the teacher almost like takes the temperature of the room. But what are your ideas for, I mean, I can't see an administrator being willing to put that out to teachers, like, who do you want to work with and who do you not want to work like that? That's not a recipe for success. But what might be some ideas for taking that temperature of your building, knowing that probably if you guys are all thinking it, it's probably true. But what ideas do you have for like taking the temperature, but then also addressing that? Is it just up to the admin? Is it just up to the, like Ariel, you said you're going to move into a coach position. Is it just up to them? Like,
Kelly, I love that you brought this up. And Erin, I love the name of the Feedback Friday. I think it's just a cool name.
Yep, Friday feedback.
Friday feedback. There you go. What you were talking about, and okay, I lost my train of thought. I will come back.
We have just one admin in our for our whole building, and we're a smaller building. We are just one grade level. We're just 6th grade, but we still just have one admin, and he can't do it all. He's great. I think he's great. I don't know that everybody does, but he can't do it all. We have to be a part of the solution too.
You're right, Melissa. He cannot do by himself. A building admin cannot do anything by themselves. So I think it's important to involve like counselors, social workers, SPED people, maybe have some sort of like a smaller committee that's addressing those concerns with the principal. It may be some sort of Friday feedback, like a survey, and then bringing up to the committee and brainstorm. But I had a type of question in my mind, and I don't remember what I was going to say, because I'm curious to hear more about like what kind of questions would put for some sort of feedback form for the adults.
The first year that our building was open, we actually got a feedback form. It was just a Google form from our admin. And I don't know if it was just because we were a new building that year, so they just wanted to see how things were going. But they haven't actually sent anything out since then. And this is, I think, our 4th year open. But I think it'd be nice to have something like that on a regular basis, and maybe like building leadership team, or we also have like a mental health team at our school, could do something with that and kind of trickle down and get some feedback from other teachers as well. Especially just so that we maintain a positive culture as our school continues growing. And then just making sure that we're checking in with each other rather than just assuming things are okay.
Yep. I threw in the chat the definition of culture, and you'll notice it does not mention the leader. It's everybody in the group. So, you know, yes, we can say, well, we want our admin and this team, but it's really each individual has to show up in a way. And it's almost like those, like a grassroots effort, right? I mean, I don't know how your admin are, but I can't, even the best admin that I worked with, I couldn't have just gone to them and say, listen, I need you to start addressing this. This is what's going on here at the culture. Man, they put on their armor. They were, even though I was there to help, right? It didn't feel that way. And I think that's the way a lot of admin feel. And I don't know if that's part of, you know, the stress you're under. Are you able to recognize the stress they're under? And so that spinning wheel of they need to do something. Something needs to happen in our culture. Something needs to happen. Well, it's got to start with somebody, right? So what are the ways you can do that?
So one of the things that I've always thought would be a cool idea, and I actually got it from my husband's work. He is a software engineer, but they start every single day with what they call Scrum. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but Scrum is their whole team gets together, and it's like no more than 10 minutes. They have a team of, I mean, it can range anywhere from 10 to 20. So maybe a staff, depending on your school, like that may be too much. Cause I've trust me, I've thought through all the logistics of how could you make this work? And I know it's hard because we're all busy in the morning and we're like trying to make last minute copies and we're trying to like get, but like, can you imagine like if every day you had 5 to 10 minutes where your team got together, your principal's there, and it's like, you know, what's our goals for today? What are some things? And because if you know a kid was struggling yesterday, like, hey guys, you know, Kate had a really rough day yesterday. And so today I just really want to pour into her. If you guys can help me in the hallway, here are some things that you could help her out with. You know, if a staff member has, you know, something going on, you know, my dad is really sick right now. And I want you to know that like, I'm not all here today. I'm kind of feeling down, and I'm probably been checking my phone a lot because we're getting test results today. Just all of those things, because I feel like a lot of times negative things happen because we don't know what's the situation. And so we walk into someone's classroom and they're sitting at their desk, and I'm just going to throw it out there that sometimes a principal is like, I came into your room and you were just sitting there, you know, at your desk. And it's like, okay, well, if you had known that my dad just told me that he found out he has cancer this morning, you would know why I was sitting there and why I was like that. And so I just feel like if you could have that, like, I don't know that, and I think it would take time, right? Like the first few times you do it, it's going to feel awkward and weird. And like, I don't know. I just like, to me, that'd be amazing to start your day off and like, you know, have that positive, build each other up, kind of let each other know what's going on. And then like, that's your start to the day. I just think that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's interesting is we do that in grade school with the morning meetings, right?
Yes.
And we know how important that is in our culture of the classroom, right? It was a game changer for me when I started it. So why not use that with your whole staff?
You're exactly right. That's exactly what I was going to say that. And I'm glad you jumped in, because that's what I was saying. We do it for our kids, but we don't do it for ourselves. Like what?
Gonna get a nice storage box, whether they like it or not.
What? Oh, you're going to give them this?
Yeah, I'm gonna put stuff inside of it and say, here's your stuff, and then just leave the
Okay. So after I listened to Smoke Session, I hopped on Facebook real quick, of course, right? Saturday morning. And I wanted to share something that I saw a principal who's a friend of mine post that she's just been feeling kind of crummy. And she said she likes to sit with the kindergartners because they're just free from judgment and expectations. And she just gets to be how she is. And she said, I wish I was at this easy with adults. because we all have junk and things that have taught us to be a certain way, to be stoic, to show strength. Don't cry. Don't be a burden. Just smile. But I care for people more deeply than they probably know. So if you're one of my people, I hope you know it. And if you don't, promise you, I'm working on it. And that's where what Ariel just said. It's easy to, when we're stressed out, see a colleague sitting at their desk on their phone and could be like, it must be nice. But if you actually knew, you would never say that. And that's where that grace that Amanda brought up at the very first thing, like, Grace. Wow, really busy on your phone today. Is everything okay? Rather than in your head, must be nice. Or, you know, and that's where like those little bits of culture start to shift. What else?
One thing our principal does is when someone on staff is going through a personal crisis, with their permission, of course, because there's some things that people don't want to be shared, but he will send out an email and in the subject line it says staff care and concern. And then he'll tell what's going on and usually include a statement from the individual. For example, this year we had a teacher whose husband suddenly had to have a heart transplant. And he let the staff know with her permission that this is what's happening and just keep them in your thoughts. And we've had other teachers that their newborn had some issues that they had to do some surgery. And it's very helpful to know, oh, okay, this teacher is going through this. That's why she's been gone for 3 weeks, or she's here today, but this is going to be on her mind. And it just keeps us all informed of how things going on in our lives that will really impact how we treat each other and how we treat our kids. So that's something I really appreciate about our principal.
So now my brain is like spinning in a million different ways. But what Rhonda's saying and what Amanda shared, like we do this with our kids. Like one of the things that I did with my kids is have a Google form where they checked, we did the zones of regulation. And so they could mark what zone they were coming in and share, like, you know, I'm in the blue zone, but then I would know what zone they were in and I could go meet with them and ask them. It's almost like if you can't do this in person, Scrum, like what if just every day that Google form goes out in the morning, hey, here are the subs for today. This is what's going on 8 and remember to do this and make it really quick. But then it could create that document, like Rhonda's saying, like a place, if they're okay, they could mark like, yes, I want you to share this with the staff, or no, I don't want you to. And then the principal or even the secretary could take those forms and just say, hey, you know, post in a place like this is what's going on. And it could be student stuff too. You know, Kate's having a really rough day. If you see her in the hallway, try to give her some love. I mean, so it could be student, it could be personal. But if that Google form was going out every day and check, you know, doing that SEL check every morning, I mean, that could be amazing.
Yeah.
But do we also get to click a box that says, this is who I don't want to sit next to? Or no, that's too far.
You want to
I don't know.
in charge of that, Rhonda? You want to take and filter that data for your building?
Don't make me sit next to them in the faculty meeting.
We don't have those. They're emails this year, right? No faculty meetings.
Can you rearrange the Zoom windows?
And you know, so I'll just bring it up because you're talking about there, but like think about the staff meetings and the private chat messages. I mean, I know I've been in meetings where I'm like, when I realized, like when I host a meeting like that, oh, I can't see what's going on in the private chat, because how many times would be like, whoo, I'm glad when they save the chat, they don't see that. Cause I mean, that's part of it too, because how many of us, you know, I know we all have it. How many have that colleague that when they start talking, I mean, it's hard on Zoom to not roll your eyes, when it was in a staff meeting, maybe they were sitting over here and they couldn't see it.
When you turn your video off.
Yeah. There you go. And then what mess, you know, and then think about all the messages we create about the people who don't have their video on. I can spin all kinds of stories about, they must think this about me, even though it has nothing to do with me. And that's what happens when we're just crazy, super stressed, is we turn in. So I know there's a few voices we haven't heard from. Maybe you're just taking it all in, but before we end here in the next 5 to 7 minutes, I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to talk or share an idea, so that that little grassroots effort can kind of pick up for culture. And I know I put it in the chat earlier, but Dr. Watson has shared repeatedly in meetings with the superintendents that the ESSER 2 funds, one of the categories is adult SEL. And if you want it in your building, speak up. They will send you money specifically for programs and services and whatever else to help the teachers, because Dr. Watson is a huge teacher advocate, just like Smoke. And they're going to do anything they can to get teachers the support. So I really encourage you to ask your admin about those funds and offer to be part of the package, part of the culture that wants to move things around. So anybody else that wants to talk that maybe hasn't had anything yet?
I've been taking it all in and loving all the suggestions, and the things that just keep coming to mind is that we make time for things that we know work for students. And sometimes those things that work so well for students to set those days off right, like going along with what Ariel said, would be awesome if we could find time to do the same thing for adults, because it really is powerful. It doesn't really matter your age, and anything that brings groups together just so they can learn and know more about each other and check in is so powerful. And I know lots of people have mentioned check-ins and just asking how people are doing. And as someone who loves doing that myself, it's something that you purposely have to make time for. And someone was like, I'd have to put that on a list. And you kind of have to learn yourself as a person to make sure that you're giving to the world what you want back in return too, and just being a good role model for students and taking care of yourself and others. But I love all the ideas.
I know I had shared a lot, so I'm not the person you're looking for.
No.
Someone mentioned about the kindness buddies, and it reminded me of something that we also try to do at Aaron's school, and we call it Shining Star. So people had, we had a basket in the lounge, and they just could come and say something that it's pretty much catching someone doing good, kind of like the PBIS route. So they would write something on the paper, thank you so-and-so for covering my duty, you know, like, or thank you for not yelling at me when I was late to pick up the kids from lunch, that kind of stuff. And then we did some drawing. We did 2 drawings, one for the person who was the shiny star, and one for the person who wrote the note. And they got Sonic drinks. So we are just trying to encourage people to do more shiny stars note. And yeah, people love Sonic drinks. So that was good, and was nice to receive the note, because then we gave the note to the people that were the shiny stars. So we did once a month. Yeah, Sonic drinks is my love language.
Something we did, not necessarily to, just food makes everyone happy, I think. So starting right around the Super Bowl, we did a Super Bowl tailgate, and obviously food can't be, well, at our school, even staff food has to be from stores and whatnot. And so we did a red and yellow or red and gold food day. So everything that people brought in was supposed to be either red or yellow or red and yellow packaging. So like Lay's potato chips, or, you know, I don't know what else. I can't remember all the things. So we did that in February, and then they were like, we really like this, keep it going. So in March, we did a St. Patrick's Day one. In April, we're going to do Earth Day. So it's like all green and blue labeled food. And then I think we're gonna do one in May. I don't know if we'll do like a beach theme or something like that, but just like bonus food days, people can come in the lounge, and we usually do them once a month anyway, but this is just an extra one because everyone just likes to be like, oh, I don't have here, I can grab a whatever kind of snack during the middle of the day and pep myself up.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm looking for the ESSER document that somebody asked about in the chat. I just have to repeat to myself, I love the KSDE website.
We got new vending machines at the beginning of the year in our teachers lounge, really cool ones that offer more variety. And that just perked me up. It takes so little to make a teacher happy.
The big thing at our school is Restock Coffee Day. So we have a group that comes and brings K-cups once a month and puts them in all the teacher lounges. We have one per pod, but yeah, they're awesome.
Boy, that's the
Something I
day you
did
go in to get your favorites.
Something I saw that a parent did for our school, the Lobners, Juliana, she will just randomly send in a bag of candy and they'll put it in the lounge and it'll just say from the Lobners, and which, you know, just again, food is for happiness for everyone. And so I did the same thing for my son's school. He doesn't go to my school. So I sent in like granola bars and candy and everything like that. And I put it, and I wrote a note for his teacher to send it into the lounge. Just, you know, those of us that are parents can send stuff to help, maybe not necessarily the culture, but just like to keep those teachers, you know, just a little positivity, and know that they're being cared about, just like we know that we hope we are, I guess.
Okay, I've almost got this document ready that has the ESSER 2 funds, so you can print it out and take it to your admin. Any other final thoughts?
No, but I love Nancy's comment on this surprise drink. I'm not into surprises, so I probably wouldn't go for it, but I can see that being a lot of fun for some people.
Okay. Okay. So I threw a PDF of the how ESSER 2 funds can be used, and it is specifically, I know, line 10 or number 10. And well, adult SEL is line 10. And others, you know, I don't know if any of you get to see this very much, but like summer school funds are part of that. Those 12 or 13, 16 things down there are how they can be used. So if you're feeling like that culture needs a little loving, take this to your principal, make it easy. Say, hey, line 10. Here's how we do it. So I'll leave the room open here for a little bit for anybody that wants to stay and hang out and connect. And if you haven't already put the way to stay connected with you in the chat, if you're on Twitter or whatever else, please put it in there, or your email, whatever's easiest for you. But I appreciate all just the input. Number one, the honesty that, yeah, it's taking a hit because sometimes we don't like to admit it. Teachers are superheroes, and superheroes don't like to admit their kryptonite. But you guys are doing amazing stuff. So take care. Thanks.
And I'm just going to jump in real quick. So remember, the coffee shop is open. So if you want to keep talking, or you want to, maybe you were interested in a couple of the other sessions, you might hop over there and say like, hey, what was in the Creating Passionate Readers session? And then the other thing is the way to win prizes is Twitter and Instagram. So we have amazing prizes and you don't want to miss out. So if you use that hashtag EdCamp JOCO Kansas, then we'll see it more easily. We'll try to kind of keep track of all of them. But if you use that hashtag, it will definitely help you again on Instagram and Twitter. So thank you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.